Kyle Shanebeck. Yes, I'm from California, but I am currently here getting my master's, so that's why I'm in lovely Bremen. But yeah, I'm going to do kind of two parts for this. I'm going to read a couple poems, some from my book, and then some that are newer that aren't published. And then at the end, I'm going to do a spoken word piece that has only actually been performed once before, so you're all very lucky. Yeah, exclusive, one night only. So yeah, I don't, sometimes I like to preface poems, sometimes I don't, but I'll preface in general that a lot of my poems have to do with growing up in Southern California. I grew up in the most conservative county in California, very Christian, conservative, good, white, middle-class families. And growing up gay in that kind of family leads to great poems, let me tell you that. So a lot of it has to do with kind of that. So just with that in mind, I'm just going to go into some of my book. Yeah. This is called Inflection. The man of my reflection has many faces. Perhaps all the places he has been reveal themselves in the background of his eyes, his cheeks, his ears, even the pain that hides behind his sight are mine. Or maybe he is but a shadow, my face projected into the blackness of his pupils, drowning in my own inflection, I mean reflection. Hands grip a porcelain well, feet bare against the tile, this face naked before the glass that is looking back at me, and yet I cannot tell who it is that smiles in this deception, because there is no smiling left in me. And this next one's called Home. A home is where the tears still flow, flowing down the house we know. A home would weep into our eyes and show us what our tears once smiled for. The house, the home in wood and bone, where griefs and joy entwine. The past is here, foretold until the house is gone, and home our eyes with tears will fill. I'll say as well too that you guys feel free to snap, or if you want it sometime between. You don't have to clap, but feel free to emote or be like, yeah, if you like it, that's fine. I don't have to be perfectly quiet. I like response, it's good. So feel free to express yourselves. Yeah. So this one's called God Hates Fags. Or so they preach. As Mother always said, from the mouth the heart speaks. The second greatest commandment I give to you today, love your neighbor, but only if he is like yourself. Judgment belongs to man, didn't you know? For the righteous are the prideful and the liars and the Sanhedrin of our day who spit in the Christ's face. Prophesy, tell us who hit you if you can. But the lamb here turns a cheek, for he was always meek, the homosexual we see. Love the sinner, but hate the sin. But love takes knowing what's within. You see, they fear to see themselves inside this sinner's sin. For piety can never guard their lives from this humanity inside, the good, the bad, and the gay. Quick, throw them out. Keep self-love in, and hate the sinner with the sin. It's easier. Easier than believing they don't know the truth, or a God who'd make gay righteous men. This is called We Told Them When Our Patients Died. We told them when our patients died, and Daddy laughed and Mother cried. The day we fell out of their eyes, the day the precipice of their expectation turned to gravity and dragged us down out of their lives. And Faye, our father's laughter rings, deafening to us it seems in retrospect, loved turned so recklessly to hate because it was our fate to love ashamedly. And bitter our mother's tears will spill, they're flowing down her pity still, pity only for herself, although for her son had loved her where her father failed her expectations. And shame still flowers here inside, for yet we judge our worth against our image in their eyes, and cried have we overmuch, in silence, in self-derision, in dreams of another life. And we wish we could know an existence worthy of their aspirations, heightened in accomplishment. Wish we could wed the fantasies of their mind instead of loving as we are, cursed to see our shame externalized. And Father, Mother, Look into my eyes. Your own reflection lives inside. Gaze at me and you might find yourself. Learn to love the man you birthed and love the ways he chooses now to live, to laugh, to love, to cry. It was a little happier one. It's called Homegrown. Clovers spring from happiness, sown into the ground, in narrow side yard pathways, and planters overgrown with rose and lavender and peony, amidst forgotten gardens paved in stone. Clovers grow as years unfold, awake trilobal heads in verdant groves of malachite, conjured by the breath of home that inhaled the lies of countless children who tilled the earth with grubby fingers. Clovers flourish in homes abandoned, where fences rot and fall, and dust becomes their red brick walls, and cobwebs haunt their aching halls, where respirations cease, the breath expels, forgotten memories like perspirations flow, and grounds once plowed by tiny hands erupt in clover. This is called, I like to preface these two just because sometimes poetry comes out of random fun places, and actually these next two poems are both from, anybody have those like poetry refrigerator magnets, you know, where it's on the, and you can like make poems out of that? These two are actually both from refrigerator magnet poetry. One of them I was in the museum in New Zealand, at the Capitol, and they had this huge board in one of their art exhibits where they had those, and I was like, okay, and I just made a poem, and it was great because I made it and then just left it and walked away, and so it's fun to think that somebody came by and was like, oh, that's a really cool poem. But this is actually the one. I called it Star Woman. Twilight moon, carve your shadow out of me, my spirit's surface dark, tender dusk of incandescent oceans, walk your summer in my silence, dismantle this grief, frame sad branches under here, home. No world was over her, out her, he flowered, then smiled, away their dance, fire, spiral, leave, he like winter, circle she. There's another one of those refrigerator poems called La Madrona, which is the stepmother in Spanish. Age is safe emotion, moderate color, white, concise, gentle, pure by affection. Many a hunt for friends, pray she know me, mischievous in unreason, shy, chaste, intractable if unspoken, honest object, here help climb, there come companion, break home, wonderful me, serious she. Yes. This is called, actually I'll preface this poem again too. It was a Thanksgiving that my mother actually outed me in front of my grandparents and my aunt and uncle, which was very uncomfortable because I was not ready to do that. And this is what came out of that. So this is called Thanksgiving. They told me I could bring a friend if I wanted. Such open-minded welcome, mind the reticence to name the thing that we stare through at family gatherings, a phantom, the obese pink elephant who could burlesque on the dining room table singing La Habanera unnoticed. 10 years of careful ignorance, no questions for girlfriends, unimaginative in their absence, no reference to interests effeminate, merely snide comments about faggots, their deviance from white bread society, and me, silent, like the sheep in the wolf pack, awaiting the day with lamb chops on the menu. Shame, I cannot properly express. When the lamb in wolf's clothing said, I am a sheep, the farce stood still, even the elephant shocked. No one spoke, pretended not to hear, drew breath around their eyes like a helmet while reciting the lyrics of La Habanera in their minds. And though they may not have eaten you yet, it's an option. Instead, the elephant dances seductively to cold stone eyes. Mother gossips about your lies. Grandparents wait patiently to die, hoping they won't have to see the world change inside their baby boy. This is my normal. Whispered conversations in the kitchen with my aunt during Thanksgiving. Wishes and tears. Tells me it's okay. I'm okay. She doesn't care who I am, what I am. Awkward fumbling is my uncle walking in. I should sing towards the ground, looking for a reality outside of our uncomfortable dinner conversations, where every pronoun is replaced by non-gender specifics. The conversation with my hands, whispered like secrets. Such shame, worry that's coming over to stay. My aunt expresses her love for me. Everybody has their sin, she whispers. Words muffled by a world rigidity, culture incongruity. Understanding my reality like she comes from a fairy story. For a moment, I wish she knew our worlds do not touch and that I no longer believe in happy endings. This next one I've actually never read for anyone before, so you're welcome again. There's an artist currently out called Troye Sivan. I don't know if anybody's heard him. He's a British artist. Young gay kid who's making music now and having videos with him making out with boys. It's awesome, yeah. It's what I wish we had when I was a kid. You know, you could have like gay icons to look up to and be like, yeah, you know, they're us too. But anyway, a lot of his music is really cool and it speaks a lot to me personally. And he had one song where he talks about blue neighborhood. He said, I thought like that was my life growing up. Like everything was the same and it was sad and I wanted to get out, you know. And so that's what this one's called. It's called Blue Neighborhood and it's in 3 parts. 1. We wear our masks like face-hugging aliens, praying they will impregnate us. Strangers in a straight land who awkwardly imitate casual inferences, masculine affectations, lower the voice, tilt the head, make sports references. They know we live among them, refugees fleeing Christian wounds, a lifetime spent conforming, endeavoring not to embarrass parents who parade us through church youth groups like a geisha, quiet and demure, painted face and satin gowns and tea-smeared facades, the cruelty of our peers taunting our patience until cracks appear to bleed the saccharine queerness of our affectations on the rug. Oh, how they smirk, behind knowing eyes, as if to say no matter how well we pretended, they always knew an alien lived inside. Pick up the pieces, plaster the cracks with indifference. Perhaps if we felt less, we could act righteously. Only when bled, bright purple blood, do we remember a world outside the cerulean sea before our eyes and dream of amber skies. 2. Leave this blue neighborhood, he cried. Maybe in another place we won't die, drying inward like a tide pool left too high, our dreams all crowded on top of each other, anemones and claws awaiting to drown in an ocean of nitrogen. Lives in the waiting room of sanctity, seeing how long we can hold our breath until tides rise, tap feet in impatience, hide the fear, zealously believe fish in the ocean who promise it gets better. Our pools strewn with the bodies of those who pulled themselves on land to try and hear them. Or perhaps we are all fish dreaming of life under the sky, praying that if we walked and talked like an amphibian, genes would give up evolution's ghost and let us swim in nitrogen, not die gasping on the sand, sharp ruby gills like a noose in our hand, keeping us from the forests of heaven. Or perhaps the ocean is in our brain, perceived expectations of sanctity, evolved with self-shame, like a vestigial organ with no name, the scars of childhood a stain upon our neocortex, coloring reality a bright cerulean. 3. In suburbia, churches rarely screen youth leaders for demons who prey upon children told to trust them. Abuse is second to preconceived perceptions in a pastor's mind that cause the least problems. Jesus, after all, is the best HR representative. My adolescent heart, a sunbather too close to the tide, like New Orleans, blue waters pouring in around non-existent levity, every day a hurricane, our city drowning. I am Nehemiah, building Jerusalem walls, sword and trowel in hand, erecting my mind's city before I am raped again, burnt fields, wasted town, and I have learned no one can be trusted. Perhaps Jonah relished his time in the whale, a religious hibernation, if you will. Entombed between 40 tons of flesh, he could rest, contemplate the insanity of running from a god. Maybe he tried to stay within, begging to be left alone in his gastric monastery, clinging to the whale's uvula. I am Ahab, howling from within, steeped in squid bits and bile, raging in the ivory tomb of my memory's abuser, wishing I could crawl from his gullet, cling upon the whale's white hump, and burst my heart's cannon on him. So this last piece is going to be a spoken word piece. Like I said, it's only been done once before, so hopefully it's good. And it kind of goes along with the themes we've been doing already, so that'll work out well. Give myself some space. There's little pauses too, so I'll let you know when it's done, so we don't. I remember the day I kissed loving goodbye, as I stared into the pitfalls of my childhood's eye and willed every pubescent dream of happiness I had to fade like a flower that dies before it has a chance to smile at the bright blue sky. I remember what it was like growing up in a life where I was the butt of every other boy's jibe, in my side, knives driven deep by insecurities they hide, internalized. They compromised by shouting their fists into my eyes to beat unto death the image that revealed their lies. These eyes that proved kindness and creativity were more manly than beating up a faggot until the spark of happiness in his smile had died. And I remember what it was like to lose the trust of men, to be abused by the hand of one called friend, to watch someone you twist my reality to a dark and blurred projection of his sin, like a demon in my mind worming its way in, like a cancer spreading fast within the perceptions of who I am. I remember what I felt inside when the gazes of my peers said it was I who lied, when I brought to light my religious leader's abusive side, how he was forced to apologize, that I felt like he had hurt me. Yet it was me who was ostracized, forced to leave my friends behind, attend church every week, and stare into my abuser's eyes. And I remember my parents' gaze in shock and fury when they found out a boy of 13 doesn't know the internet has a history, that it will not keep your secrets, that pornography loves to whisper in pubescent lives. But what caused them to cringe and shock and alarm wasn't the lurid caption of the human form, but that the focus of this boy's gaze of forlorn longing was focused on the phallic horn that trumpeted his desire for an alternative kind of porn. Cue our somber film to cut away to years spent in all forms of reparative therapy. Play a heart-wrenching tune, plenty of slow-motion zooms, a sad vignette of shock and gloom as a boy of 13 watches the walls of his life close until he has no room to cry anymore. His life already a sarcophagus of self-hatred, masquerading as righteousness. And as he takes in the last fresh breath of happiness left him, let the picture fade to black. And I remember what it was like to wish my death, to draw every last agonizing breath, praying for the end. I remember what it was like to bear the pain, to wear the weight of 1,000 names for worthless the demons whispered in my brain. I remember what it was like to wake every day to live a self-embodied lie, to try to live by a mountain of unattainable expectations piled upon my shoulders like boulders on an ant, like the world held up by the trembling arms of Atlas. Every second his knees shiver and beg to break beneath the weight of hateful images forced upon his infant eyes. I remember attending a private Christian school where morality was the dress code, but hypocrisy was cool, where gossip and lying and pride were the rule, but a boy who loved theater deserved the cruelty of his peers. Ridicule piled upon the one who could not conform to a cultural preconception of a masculine norm that left no room for deviance. I remember attending church every Sunday, sitting in 1,000 pews, listening to the fire and brimstone fall, promising I would never call myself by the names they vilified. Gay was a title not just for stupid, but for sinner and unsanctified, so I wove my face into a mask that smiled while they lied and taught myself to laugh and sing while inside I died. I remember when I finally was overwhelmed by the pain and hate and fear and loneliness and chose to leave that culture of false righteousness to search for heaven in some bluer skies. The day I chose happiness instead of lies and realized that God's love was not predicated on whether or not I liked other boys, and I can find happiness. He sneaks into my heart. On days when peace pervades the recess of my mind, and heaven's gift of forgetfulness casts a shadow over my eyes. But that blissful peace is ever marred by the sudden jarring barb of memory, where the 1,000 voices of my past out shouting in an endless storm, and joy's insubstantial form vanishes from my sight. So, forever wars the past within, and I can never be free of that childhood whim that calls my very essence sin. The shame is fresh, the pain inside, and I remember.
His poetry on Amazon.de. Go ahead now on your phone.
Yeah, if you want to come take a picture with your phone or something so you can look it up, I'll keep it afterwards. You can rifle through it if you want.
That was really, really amazing. Thank you very much. One more round of applause for 5.